All right, let's do our proofs. So I'm given DEA, BEA are right triangles. Okay, well, that's something to look out for. AD is congruent to AB. All right, that's all I'm given. Prove DEA is congruent to BEA. Let me highlight these two. I want to prove DEA in orange is congruent to BEA. Maybe I should do this in a light green. It's congruent to BEA. So I'm proving those two triangles congruent. We'll copy down our givens. DEA and BEA are right triangles. Those are right triangles. That was given. We were also given AD and AB congruent. So AD congruent to AB. That's fine. 2. All right, now we always look for our reflexive properties and our vertical angles here. I see some vertical angles, but I don't know how much that helps me because I don't have any other vertical angles. So I'm going to hold off on those. And in these triangles, I see reflexive sides. So remember, we always look for vertical angles, reflexive sides next. AE is congruent to AE by the reflexive property. And then finally, I've got right triangles. So what do I got here? I got right angles, right angles. This looks like I have triangle congruence. AED, AEB by hypotenuse leg. Now, 10 is also a hypotenuse leg problem. So I'm going to skip that one for now because you're not going to have one on your quiz. You guys won't. Other classes will. Potentially. I'm going to have you try 11 and 12. So I'd like you to try 11 and 12. Pause the video, try them. Unpause the video. We'll check our work. All right, first thing we got to do. Copy them down. VYU. I can never do capital Y's. VYU is congruent to WVZ. I'm also given VZW congruent to YUV. What is it? VU and WZ? I should probably... No, that's not good. VU. That's better. Oh, I used up half my space on givens. That's not helpful. So given statement. Okay, let's mark those in. Angle 1, that didn't tell me anything. VYU, WVZ, cool. VZW, VZW, that one's congruent to YUV, great. VU, I'm going to highlight these because it's kind of hard to tell. VU is congruent to WZ. All right, now let's look at what I got here. In this triangle, I have what kind of markings? Because that's all my given information. I don't see any vertical angles. I don't see any definitions to use. Don't see any reflexive sides. So let's check out what I have. I have an angle, and I have a side in that triangle. I have an angle side in that triangle, and if I have angle side in the other triangle, then I'm good to go. I can prove those are congruent. I have an angle, and I have a side in that triangle, which is just fantastic news. Because I have angle, angle, side. That means if I have angle, angle, side, these triangles are congruent. So let's say that. Let's tell everybody that, what is that? VZW is congruent to YUV. And it really doesn't matter what order you put the letters in, as long as the corresponding parts match up. Okay, so I have congruent triangles, which is great. Now let's look back and see, what did they want me to prove? They said prove angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. Well, how do I do that? Any time you've got angles or sides being proven congruent, we prove that the triangles are congruent themselves, and then we say that, hey, angle 1 has to be congruent to angle 2. We erase all this extra stuff. These angles have got to be congruent because they're corresponding. So corresponding parts of congruent triangles must be congruent. And 12, let's see what's going on here. Oh, this one's kind of tricky. Got some parallel lines. If I could make parallel lines, that would be nice. Parallel lines. All right, parallel lines. So, given A and U are congruent, A is congruent to U. That's given. And then don't forget to get the whole given statement down. AY is parallel to UE. So I've already drawn those in. AY and UE are parallel. Angle A is congruent to angle U over there. Okay, so we've got that down. Now we always ask ourselves, do I have vertical angles? Do I have reflexive sides? I don't see any vertical angles. So there's no vertical angles in there. Can't really use that part, but what about the reflexive sides? Well, look at our picture here. Do I have any shared reflexive sides? Yeah, right in the middle there. YE or EY. YE is congruent to YE. And how in the world are those congruent? Well, that's reflexive property. Anytime something is congruent to itself, that is our reflexive property talking. All right. So I've used those angles congruent. I've already used this part of my given. I did my reflexive property. I don't have any vocab words that I could use. Okay, so what do I do now? How in the world am I supposed to prove congruence? Well, let's look back at our other part of the given. Parallel lines. Okay? And let's take stock of what I have. I have an angle and I have a side. So I need an angle or I need a side. If I'm given parallel lines cut by, I'll do it in blue. Parallel lines cut by a transversal, I could probably find an angle to get angle, angle, side. And what are some angle pairs I could find? Well, I could find alternate interiors, or I could find alternate interiors. Either way, so you could say that those two are alternate interiors right here, or you could use the other pair. And you know what? I'll use that pair. So UEY is congruent to, what is that? AYE. And what kind of angle pairs are those? Those are alternate. Interior angles. Okay, so now what do I have? I did all that work. What can I say? Do I have congruence yet? Let me erase all this just to check. I've got angle, angle, side. Okay, that's promising. I have angle, angle, side. Well, that's great news. I can say now that I have angle, angle, side congruence. So if I have angle, angle, side, then those two triangles had better be congruent. So AEY, or I guess I could say UEY, is congruent to AYE by angle, angle, side. Let me check, make sure I'm done. What do I want to prove here? I wanted to prove that those two sides were congruent. All right, so if I want to prove that those two sides are congruent, let me just copy that down. They want me to prove AY and UE are congruent. So this must be a CPCTC proof. All right, let me know what questions you have. You're not going to have 2 CPCTC proofs. You're going to have one on your quiz. So one proof over CPCTC, one regular proof, which is just like these, but take off the last step. And a quick sigh of relief for you. They're not going to be hypotenuse leg on your quiz tomorrow. So let me know what questions you have. Send me an email, and I will see you guys for your